Welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. So we're going to get some insights on customer experience, and one of the things you'll be talking about a little bit later, I think, is how having a great product is not enough. And it feels like we should all know this by now, but it's still a common mistake that companies make, that they focus too much on the product rather than the experience. How common is it, and why?
It's very common. I mean, it's so easy to focus just on the product. This is something you can control yourself. We're going to improve the product. We're going to come up with another feature. And a product is important, of course, but it's only half of the equation. If you look to what people really value, so if you go to the essence of customer experience, there are basically two things. They want you to deliver what you promise. So good product, good service, clear communication. But the second dimension is, how does it make people feel if they work with you? And for many people, especially if you have a technical background, the make you feel part is a little bit more scary. But what you see in research is that today, for a customer, product quality and the experience have the same value, so they both matter as much.
Do you have any good examples of companies that have maybe learned it the hard way but managed to turn things around?
I think that Chewy, do you know Chewy?
No, tell us the
Chewy is
story.
like the largest pet store in the US. It's a fantastic example. They basically started in a very traditional way, selling pet food to pet owners. But then they understood, it's a pet, and people are not a pet owner, they're a pet parent. Because if an animal dies, people are extremely sad, so that's very emotionally. What if we start to work on that emotion as well, and not just send food to people's home? So, for instance, if you would buy food from them, and imagine a week after that your dog dies, and you let them know, then they will send you a message that you can keep the food, give it to a shelter or a friend, we will refund you. The day after that, you will get flowers and a handwritten card, and a little oil painting that they made from your animal, because usually they can find pictures on social media.
Wow.
To make you feel good and to show that they really care and understand your emotions. And this will not be a random act of kindness. This is more a structural act of kindness. So they have a team of oil painters. They send out about 1,000 of those oil paintings every week to their customers. So it's part of who they are. And it's a fantastic example, because e-commerce and selling stuff online is so transactional, but they figured out a way how to add emotion to that.
Yeah, even if, you're probably not going to go out and find or buy a new pet the next day after your animal's passed away. So even knowing that it might take some time before somebody feels ready to do that, that's a really interesting example. You mentioned e-commerce, and obviously the digital interface, or digital interfaces when it comes to customer experience, are a bit different to physical interfaces. What would you say the main differences are when it comes to providing the best customer experience online compared to the physical world?
Well, I think you always have to focus on the benefit for the customer, and then reverse engineer it, and figure out what kind of technology do we need to make that happen. And the real benefits that you can create with technology are faster than real time. Solving problems before there is a problem, anticipating to things. Hyper-personalization, it's not about the average customer, but you can really do something for the individual customer. And making life more convenient for people so that they save time, maybe save money, save energy, 3 scarce resources of people. And if you use technology in such a way, then people will use it.
And in the physical world, what do you think are the key items for when it comes to face-to-face customer service?
In a face-to-face setting, you have the enormous opportunity to really show people that you value their business, that you value that they come to you physically. You have this opportunity that you at least interact for maybe half a minute, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 3 hours if you're on a plane, but people are physically with you. That is the best gift that they can give you. And for you, it creates the opportunity to show that you care, make it personal, not personalized. The internet is about personalization. together, us, then it's making it personal, showing warmth. I think the one thing that humans are really good in is exchanging positive energy. This is not something you can do remotely. And if your customers feel that positive energy from you, it will give them that great feeling that they were hoping to get.
Is it harder to find employees and staff who are comfortable doing that in a time where so many people spend so much of their time forging relationships online and socializing online?
Yeah, and most companies have like values. We want passion and respect or integrity. And that's fantastic, but it doesn't tell employees how you expect them to behave. I think in customer service and customer experience, it's not really about values. You can use values, but they should be a guideline for expected behavior. And sometimes we underestimate how precisely you have to define the kind of behavior that you expect. Like companies like Disney, if you go to Disneyland, it's not because you're hired by Disney that automatically you know how to behave as a Disney employee. They tell those people in a very detailed way what kind of behavior they expect. And I think that's what you need to invest in. You cannot expect that someone just by nature knows the kind of behavior that you would like them to show to your customers.
Do you have some examples of the coolest or the best companies when it comes to customer experience from your point of view? You mentioned Disney. Any others that make the magic happen?
Well, I think that, for instance, the cruise companies are a good example to learn for. A few months ago, I was in Miami. I had the pleasure to work with Caribbean cruises, Royal Caribbean Cruises. And before that, I had like a tour on the ship and how it worked. But for me, the most impressive part was the terminal. Because the philosophy that they have, the promise towards customers is from curb to ship in 10 to 15 minutes. Behind the scenes, they call it from car to bar in 10 to 15 minutes. But I thought that was amazing because all the steps that you have to go through are exactly the same as what you go through in an airport. 10 to 15 minutes versus in an airport, they tell you 2 to 3 hours. But when you go to a cruise terminal, you have to check in, you have to show your passport, you go through security, you drop your luggage. They can do it in 10 to 15 minutes. Why? Because they are organized and they have the intention to do it and to simplify that process, to think about how smooth it can go, and they really value that time of customers. And that's impressive versus an airport. An airport knows perfectly how many people will show up at what time. You know the time of the flight, you know how many people are there, and still sometimes you have to wait an hour at security. That's strange, isn't it?
Yeah. We don't have anyone to defend the airport, so I'm sure there are some security reasons behind that as well. But really interesting point well made. We're starting to get some questions in, which is great. Always lovely to have a bit of audience participation. This one says, what's your leadership advice for the customer experience expedition? If a leader has no team of his own, you need to have the whole organization's focus and talent. We've been talking a lot about leadership, so encouraging your team, I suppose that's what it's about.
Well, in customer experience, they say that 70% of your customer satisfaction depends on the leader. So the leader plays a huge role in either making sure it's a focus point or not. So I usually have 3 questions for leaders that they should try out on themselves to see how much or how strong their customer leadership is. First one is, how do you deal with opposing interests? What if there is a conflict of interest between you and your client? Question there is, are you willing to hurt yourself in the short run to gain trust in the long run? Or is that difficult for you? That's question number 1. Question number 2 is, if something goes wrong, are you a person that will fix things instantly, no matter what? Or are you a person that wants to find out what went wrong in every little detail? And so waste time and then eventually solve it, but it took way too long.
Yeah.
Or number 3, how empowered is the frontline staff? Are you a micromanaging leader that wants to have a word in everything? Or do you trust your frontline staff for them to make the decision on the spot that is best for the customers? And those are 3 questions that can help you to figure out how difficult it is for you to really be customer-centric, or how strong you are as a customer leader. And it starts with that self-assessment, if you ask me.
Yeah, and do you think people that feel that they don't match those qualities shouldn't become leaders in arenas where customer experience and customer service is at the helm?
Could you please repeat?
If you don't feel that you match those qualities and you're in a leadership role, do you think that means that's the wrong role for you, the wrong industry? Or do you think you can learn to acquire those skills?
No, you can definitely learn to change that. Very often it's about micro communication and micro decision making. Very often it's not about the strategy, but it's the small decisions that you take every day or the small things that you say or don't say that really make your team believe or disbelieve that you are serious about customers. And I think the one thing that every leader should do to become more customer-centric is to actually spend more time with customers directly. It is the best learning that you have, so that you hear the feedback and the oohs and the ahs directly, and not in some sort of a market research report, but that you sit face to face like we are right now and say, you're not ordering products anymore with us. What did we do wrong? And hearing that directly will boost your customer leadership tremendously.
Really interesting. Getting away from face-to-face interactions, generative AI. We couldn't have a tech and business conference without mentioning AI. But what do you think are the easiest tools that companies are still not making the most of when it comes to helping to offer an exceptional customer experience or measure the success of a customer experience?
Well, I think the biggest change, thanks to Gen AI, that we're going to see in the field of customer experience is actually customer care, customer service, contact centers that will become more efficient, that will be faster, more automated. This is the field where we're going to see most of the change in the next 2 years. And we're going to see different speeds here. You have companies that have their data in order so that the model can learn from the existing customer service data. They will speed up like crazy. But the majority of the companies is suffering there. Either they don't have the data, or the quality of the data is not as it should be, so that if the quality of the service was below par in the past 2 years, and you train your model with average to low quality, the model will think, average to low quality is the way forward here.
Yeah.
So then you need time to change that first before you can use Gen AI and customer service. So I think that's where we're going to see most. Second step, more long-term, before it becomes mainstream, is AI agents that help customers to take decisions. Where maybe in some customer journeys, the customer will no longer be part of that customer journey. So that's going to change the whole engagement with customers completely then.
So for example, if you're booking a holiday or something, it only shows you options that it thinks you would like, something like that?
Yeah, well, today we have travel apps on our phone, banking apps on our phone, and we have to push a lot of buttons on the screen. What if you just say, like you say to ChatGPT, like, check my calendar, I have a meeting in Barcelona next week, what's the most convenient flight for me? And you get 2 options, and you say, take number 2.
Yeah, and it knows specifically that it's based
your agenda,
on your data.
it knows what you like, and it's fully personalized and super convenient.
Really interesting. Any other trends that you think will shape the future of customer experience, customer engagement in the next couple of years?
Well, I think really the biggest trend and biggest changer or driver of change will be AI. I think it will completely change the way that customers take decisions. It will make branding more important, because what will happen is you will say, hey, AI platform, I need Colgate toothpaste. And because you specifically ask for Colgate, the AI will give you Colgate toothpaste. But the question is, what happens if you say, hey, AI platform, I need batteries? Which brands will get through the filter? Which brands will be blocked by the filter? So the branding part will be more important than before, because if you're not strong with your brand, people will ask for generic products, and the black box of the AI will make the decision. And that's a whole new way of buying products. It means your trusted gatekeeper as a consumer is changing again. Before the internet, it was traditional media, radio, TV, newspapers. Today it's online, website, apps, social. Tomorrow, that will be an AI agent that will help us with our purchases.
It's going to be so interesting to see how all that develops.
I can't wait.
Me neither. Steven van Belleghem, thanks very much for joining us here.
Great pleasure. Thank you, everyone.